So I chose to do this piece about 3.5 years ago, and one of the reasons why is because after our last election, I recognized that our students had difficulty talking to each other and looking at each other, and emotions were running high, but no one was giving any guidance in the form of choral music anyway to help them realize their emotions and figure out how to handle their emotions. And so I thought I got to do something. And choral music is a place where we create community, and this is the perfect time for me to help them realize that and help them create that. So I started by doing small pieces that were related to this topic, and then I stumbled upon Joel Thompson's piece because it was done by a friend of mine at University of Michigan, and I thought we have to do this when the time is right. And so I built programs around these themes until the community was strong enough to be able to handle talking about these topics. Our core community was able to talk about these topics, and then we put this piece together. And what's really important to me is the community connection part. So it's not just to lay all this information out to people and make them have feelings about it, because they will, but it's how to get them to direct those feelings in a way that will help uplift the community. And so when you see this concert, you may not get to see this unless you see the program, but in the program are places in Omaha where they can go and direct these energies and direct these feelings in a way that will uplift our Omaha community. So it's a big community service project, a community learning project, a community building project.
I wrote the piece to process my own grief and pain in response to Eric Garner's death, and more specifically, the decision of the grand jury, the Staten Island grand jury, not to indict the officer whose actions led to the death of Eric Garner. There was a sense of hopelessness in response to that decision, that his death recorded on camera didn't even warrant an indictment of negligent homicide or manslaughter even. There was just no justice. And so the piece was really an attempt to meditate on these lives and offer them the respect that I felt that they were denied. And so I used the liturgy of the 7 last words of Christ, which I feel humanize the figure of Christ in the Christian religion. And it was my aim to humanize these men. And I used the liturgy as a way to construct the piece. I was really inspired by Shirin Barghi, the Iranian-American journalist based in New York. She put a pictogram series on Twitter, and it was a simple image paired with the last words of these unarmed men. And the picture was so moving to me, that series was so moving to me, I decided to make a musical version of it to process my feelings. So that's sort of how the piece came about. So I wrote the piece in about 2.5 weeks. And I already had the order that I had chosen based on the liturgy. For example, the last word, the last saying that Jesus says from the cross is, "Into thy hands I can commend my spirit." And Eric Garner's last words, "I can't breathe," was the last one in this set. Just that connection of spirit and breath. So with that logic, I ordered the last words that I had chosen. And if there was a video of their death or articles written about their deaths, I read all of them. I watched Oscar Grant die from multiple angles of cell phone videos. I was depressed, to be honest, at the start and during, but once I was done, it was such a cathartic experience.
The experience of learning 7 last words has been a humbling challenge for me. This music looks very hard to sing on paper, and it is hard to sing, but I've learned that if you can tap in and find meaning beyond the notes on the page, it's easier to gather and easier to execute. So I've had a great time learning this piece, but it has been emotionally challenging as well as mentally challenging.
It's been really intense. I know that I've never had an experience like this in high school, and so coming here, having this be my senior year, not having worked on anything like this before in college has been a really good experience, but it's been really raw, but it's also been really good because you get to connect with the people within the choir, and you get to talk and have conversations that you never really get to have on a usual basis.
It's been extremely challenging, both physically and mentally. You know, these pieces are over really controversial topics, and you sing them in succession, and you don't have a time to take a reprieve in between pieces, and at the end you kind of just have to try and relax and process what you've just done, because it's powerful.
So what's important to recognize is that not everybody identifies with the people in this piece, because for some of them this stuff has been deleted or omitted from their lived experiences, and so I had to figure out how to teach this work in a way that allowed for everybody to feel comfortable hearing this without having any shame or blame, but just receiving information about the lived experiences of others for the purposes of just understanding the players in your community. And that's the angle that I took, because it's very easy for people to imprint upon this topic their own feelings, which could be motivated by factors, you know, from what you watch on TV or what you read on Facebook or whatever social media platform you got on. There's so much information out there that sometimes it can sway people in a way that makes them imprint upon neutral information, their own feelings, without getting the full picture of what's happening. So I wanted them to get to know these people, not as victims, not as their mugshots, but as real people. So I showed them pictures of the young men who were killed, so that we could talk about the person that their families saw and that their families knew. And then we talked about the facts around what happened, because some people just didn't know. And then I allowed them to give me feedback if they wanted to in the way that they needed to. So some people came back and talked to me. I also had an envelope in my office where people could come in and post questions anonymously, or if they wanted to tell me who they were, they could do that. And so it's been great to allow people to onboard into this process in whatever way they needed to, so that the product was able to be shown musically, but even more than that, so that they learn how to talk to each other, because that is how this whole thing started. People didn't know how to talk to each other, and I feel like we're in a better place to do that now. So this is not the end of something, but kind of a mile marker on this journey of work that I'll continue to do here, and that hopefully people who've gone through this process will continue to do in their own lives.
I've learned to remove myself from the emotional side of it, because we're putting on this show for other people, not ourselves. I feel like I've learned what I need to learn from the experience, so I need to put my emotions in the back seat and give a professional performance so that others can experience the music for the first time.
I've learned that people are fragile, and I've learned that being a human is all that it's worked up to be. Like, people have feelings, people are raw, people experience things, and it's our job as friends, peers, coworkers, family, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers, whatever you are to people, it's our job to protect those people and help understand what they're going through, and help understand the experiences that they've gone through that have made them into the person that they are.
You know, honestly, I think I've learned something about myself that I think about myself a lot more than I thought I did, that I would like to care to admit. It really makes you try and think about how other people perceive the world and the injustices and problems that are out there that plague communities, societies that you're not even a part of. And I think it's made me realize that just because it's not your problem, or it might not directly affect you, doesn't mean it's not a problem. And to grow together, we need to work together, whether that affects us directly or not.
What is the growth that you have seen in the choir or in these students through the process?
Their ability to process music faster, their ability to emote and make their own feelings around a piece, because I can tell people how to feel, but it won't be authentic unless you have your own feeling about it and you can connect that with the music. The sounds that you produce won't really be at a musical level that really is representative of what some of them are capable. Also, some of them are talking to each other more than I've seen. And then there's some who aren't. Some people have not fully engaged, but that's okay, because that doesn't mean we don't stop doing this work. I know that they know more now than they did before we started, and that's the point of the whole thing. I can't go into this thinking, I'm going to change everybody so that they're all going to go out and march in a rally. Well, not everybody finds their way of expression in a rally. Some people will sing, some people will do what I do and work with choirs and lead processes like this. Some people will go march, but they need to know that however they choose to process and present those feelings is okay, as long as they have some kind of well thought out information behind that.
I was just gonna write it and hide it away, and but then Freddie Gray died the following April 2015, and I saw that people didn't get it. And so I decided to put a call out on Facebook. People responded on this Facebook open call, and we got a room at Emory University and sight read it. And I felt something in the room, and one of the men that came called Dr. Eugene Rogers at the University of Michigan and said, I just sight read this piece, you need to do it. And the following November, he programmed it for the University of Michigan Men's Glee Club. And it's been a whirlwind ever since. People are already clamoring to perform this, and I don't know how I actually feel about that, because it means that this issue is still relevant. It means that if people want to sing it, that means there's still a problem. It's simultaneously a sad thing, but also it gives me hope that people are less afraid to engage with difficult conversations. We are less, when I first premiered the work, some people wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And now, Cleveland Chamber Choir did it this weekend, and we're doing it here, and it's happening all over the country, and it's leading to difficult but necessary conversations. And it's almost the start of a therapy session. You have to air your grievances from your perspective, and hopefully we can all listen and be present in that pain, and then we can go about trying to see what we can do to solve the problem that the piece addresses.
We're trying to use this time with music as a ground. We say music builds community, and we're trying to use this piece as a place where we can come and experience music that changes our lives, but maybe more than what we thought it was going to be. We got them into the room, and now we have to do the work.